Hi, hi, hi. It's so nice to see you again. How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I am good. It's our third day and it's been a wonderful 3 days of inspiration. So I'm very, very happy.
Fantastic.
And I look
Fantastic.
forward to a break also tomorrow.
A break is always
I'm
good.
gonna st Absolutely. I'm gonna start by introducing you, if that's okay, to the
hmm
listeners. So Stephanie Lunn is Guinness World Records Global People and Culture Director. You're responsible for a wide variety of people-focused programs across 6 international offices. You, prior to joining Guinness World Records, you held senior HR positions in a variety of organizations, including Yahoo and Havas and Omnicom and the Moving Pictures Company. So welcome. We're very, very glad to have you. And it's really nice today because we have 2 HR leaders who have joined us, especially on this special day on World Mental Health Awareness Day. So I'm really glad that you're with us.
Well,
Um,
I'm very pleased to be here.
Thank you. So let's start perhaps with our questions. Today is World Mental Health Awareness Day. What does that mean for you?
Well, it's obviously incredibly important. We are definitely a company that now takes mental health very seriously. I do think that COVID sort of really made us think about this very topic. Um, the Americas office have actually got the day off today. They've chosen it as one of their annual days off, which I think is really great because obviously it's World Mental Health Day is very big in the US, and in the UK we have Mental Health May. So all of May we celebrate mental health, so slightly different. But yes, mental health is a really important topic. It's not something that should be put under the carpet, so to speak. It is something that we all need to talk about, and we need to be open to listening as well. Uh, as a company, we've really come along a great deal with regards to our strategies and implementation on how we support our employees with their mental health, ranging from they can take up an app like Headspace or Calm, and they can charge that back to the company. And we also have online yoga. And during Mental Health May in the UK, we had in the office yoga. So our yoga instructor does sort of desk yoga, sort of online desk yoga, which is really popular and people love it. So they can literally do it at their desk. And it's just about stretching, being in the moment, being mindful. And I think all these strategies and techniques are going to help people to cope with sudden shocks or perhaps issues in their, probably not just in their work life, but in their home life. We've got a lot of things going on in the world that are making people feel extremely stressed. We have an office in the UAE, and that group are feeling extremely stressed. So we've reached out to them and offered them very specific support. And in the US, there's a lot of stress because they've had 2 huge hurricanes, Helene and Milton, which Milton is obviously affecting some of our staff in Florida. And these things cause a great deal of strain, everyday strain that can impact their work, but also their life. So it's very important that we are here and that we listen to them.
And I love what you're saying, and it ties a little bit to the talk that I had with Saddaram. I don't know if you were here at the time, but I love what you're saying because we're not two different people at work and at home, right? Like we
No.
are one person, we are a whole person, and our whatever is going, whatever is happening in our life is impacting our work and vice versa. And I love the fact that you brought that up, considering what's happening in the world, because it is real and it affects how we do business. And I know that even in the run up to this conference, at one point I was like, do I cancel the conference? Do I reschedule the conference? Do I
Yeah.
keep the conference? There is no separation between what's happening at work and what's happening at home. We're one person. So I love that you brought that up. Thank you. I think nobody has brought that up yet.
Yeah, I mean, I used to find the expression, leave your life at the office front door. I used to think that that expression was very strange because, of course, you can't possibly do that. You don't miraculously, like sort of Superman, change outfits as you go through your office front door and become another person. You're always still you. And of course, what people used to do was they would bury their problems, and if it got too much, they would either take off sick and they would say that they had a cold, or they would leave because they just, they couldn't cope. But now I'm hoping that if people do feel that they need to talk, that they can just contact their we have sort of business partners, business partners, and they can speak to their business partner and find out strategies. Obviously, we're not professionals in mental health, although we all the team are being trained up to be mental health first aiders. We're not professionals. It's all about signposting. But we do have private healthcare in place where they can access counselling, and we've chosen the companies that actually give counselling without making people go through hoops. Because if you're going through grief, or you're going through a divorce or something, along those lines, a very high stress moment, the last thing you need is to jump through multiple hoops to get to see somebody to talk to them.
I love that. And I love the fact that you've done so many things internally at Guinness to support your employees and to make that transition really smooth. Talk to us about what you do externally, or maybe what you've seen externally. Have you seen more people apply to get awards in the mental health space, or even in the purpose space, whether these are individuals or corporate members? What are you seeing there?
So I haven't really seen anything on purpose, but we have seen, on the mental health. I mean, there is the largest online mental health lesson. It was all part of Awareness Week last October, Awareness Day last October, and that was with British Telecom. That's an employee engagement. And sort of my favourite is actually someone called Sam Thompson, and he raises mental health through his social media accounts, and he actually got a record for the most amount of hugs by
Oh,
an individual in 1 minute, which was 88 people. So he hugged 88 people in 1 minute, and I really love that, because I think that mental health and hugging and just being, together is all part of the same sort of, need. So I really like that particular record. That's just an individual record, but he got a lot of really good publicity, and anything that has publicity is raising awareness, and it's getting people to, not feel isolated and feel that they can talk and reach out and say, I'm not feeling great today. And then someone to say, how can I help?
and when you say he got 88 hugs, these were like, I don't understand, physical hugs that he filmed, or these were like,
88 people,
okay.
88 different people in 1 minute. So like,
Wow.
hug, hug, hug.
It was all virtual. Okay, amazing. That's amazing.
No, it was in person. He did it in person. It was live, and it was on television. But the lesson, the mindfulness lesson, that was online. That was 2,025 people. That's the current record. I think that's a record that could be broken, quite frankly. So that's yes, that's the largest online lesson, and that was with British Telecom, and it was an employee engagement, which is really great. It shows that a really big company is, trying to sort of build awareness for mental health.
Well, let's see if a small company like ours can beat them.
Well, I don't see why not, quite frankly.
Yeah, one day, one day. It's one of my dreams to be on Guinness, either as an individual or as a company. So we'll
As
get
a
there.
company,
Time,
yeah,
God
you
willing.
get there.
Yeah. Amazing. So you say in an interview, And we published that interview, and I really, really loved it, especially because we're doing this conference to support a patient with cancer. You say, unless you are curing cancer, you have to allow people to miss deadlines and allow people to basically be, because we operate in the private sector under such hyper growth and tight deadlines. Um, Tell us more about that. How do you manage that as an HR leader, and what is the importance of you as an HR leader putting on your own mask first before you assist others?
I think for myself, it's I personally I have somebody who I go to as a coach. So
Beautiful.
I have an outlet. I think it is really important that you look after yourself before you look after others. I also have my daughter who keeps me real, and you know she's a good person to sort of hang out with. But with regards to sort of deadlines, unless it's a deadline that is to do with tax or a government agency, I think that, or a client that is waiting, I think that honestly, internal deadlines, we can really be a little bit more flexible. And that's where people really need to say, I don't know if I can reach this deadline, can you help me? And I think that's
Mm.
really important so that that people feel safe enough to be able to outline that they're struggling. Because when someone says, I need help, people will help. But unfortunately, I think we'll find that many of us find it difficult to ask for help. And that's what we need to all get better at.
And I think a lot of people maybe don't ask for help because they see it as a sign of weakness when it's in fact a sign of strength because it starts with you as an individual, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I've certainly noticed is that, uh, I'm a much better performer when I've got my team all on board doing different activities so that we get to the goal instead of me just thinking that I can do it all by myself. So many times people think, well, I'll just do it by myself because then I know what's being done and I know how to do it. I don't want to have to delegate or to explain to somebody else a particular task. But actually, that is what I would call a three-legged table because you get exhausted. You often don't reach your target or your deadline. And honestly, doing it with, people around you is so much more fun. It's so that you can collaborate and you can come together and talk about how can we do this and listen to other people's ideas because other people might have some really great ideas that you'd not thought about. So I think it's really important to collaborate at work, to make sure that you're not just struggling on your own and to always ask for help if you
I
need
love
it.
especially also even as an HR leader, because I started my career in the HR space. I have a degree in HR, and I think it's really, really hard to be an HR leader. It's very hard
Mhm.
because the things you hear, you're constantly hearing employee issues and employee complaints from the smallest thing to the most, to the biggest thing. So apart from you doing coaching, what do you recommend for other HR leaders in this space?
I think it's very important to keep learning.
Mm,
I think HR is a field that is really moving very fast and changing very fast, and the role of HR has changed dramatically since 2020. In fact, an awful lot of HR people that I know who'd been in the business for a long time actually left during COVID because of the stress
mm,
that was placed upon the HR profession. In fact, many people left because they were finding their mental health was suffering during COVID because they couldn't cope with looking after other people. So I think that's why I feel it's very important to look after yourself and make sure that you're strong so that you can look after other people. And so it's about so the HR. So I think the HR profession has really changed. I would say keep learning. Make sure that you're always listening to the new kids on the block, because actually they've got some really great ideas, and companies are about looking at the future, and people who are just coming through the door, sort of age 24, 25, have got really great ideas, and you don't want to thwart their enthusiasm. You want to listen to them, because while some of their ideas might not be workable because maybe they've not been in the workplace very long, many of their ideas probably, are quite good and they should be implemented. So it's very important as a HR professional to listen to other people and to, take on board some ideas that they might have, so that it's a collective response and a collective strategy for your people strategy is not just your own ideas. It's something that you've gone out and you said, what do you think we can do next year?
And you speak about the new generation and how they have a lot of ideas. One of the things that we get at Stories is a request to do workshops to facilitate between the new generation and the older generation, because they're having a hard time working together. The new generation is very, very different. They value work-life balance a lot more. They value purpose a lot more. They want a job that has meaning. They're willing to quit just like that,
Yeah.
you know, at any moment without notice, and sometimes with very minimal notice. Um, what would you recommend for the two to work better together?
Yeah, Gen Z. So I think that the generations are very interesting. I mean, I was so interested in generations. That's what I wrote my master's paper on, because I could see, as the millennials were coming through the door, I could see a real disconnect between the managers and the millennials. Now we've got that disconnect between the millennials, the Gen X, the boomers, and now the Gen Z. So we've got all these generations, and we put everyone into a room and we go, okay, now you get on with each other. And of course, that can't happen because everyone's got they're at different stages in their life. They have different purpose. And Gen Z are, yes, as you say, they won't tolerate anything that they don't really like or they don't believe in. They really they want to believe in particular brands. So you'll find that fast fashion is now something that they really hate. And I'm so pleased about that, because it is a real problem. So they all like to buy their stuff, their clothes, from secondhand stores, Goodwill, etc. You find, I was in America in August, and I went to Goodwill with my daughter, and the place is absolutely packed with Gen Z shopping. And I just thought, this is amazing, because what would happen to all those clothes otherwise? I think that it's about listening. I think we've got to listen to Gen Z. They've got great ideas and they are our future leaders. And what we want to do is help develop them and listen to them and make sure that they have a great, career journey going forward. We can't just say this is the way that it's always been done. We have to maybe change, and change is good. Sometimes change is as like a fresh start. So I think it's about being open to their ideas.
I have one of these at home. She's 15 years old and she's listening. So I totally relate and I agree. And they can be quite strong in their opinions.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And sometimes you think, what? And other times you think, oh no, actually, you're quite right. Because it's about reframing the problem, sort of going like this and going, oh yes, I can see that would be how you would view it. And you have to remember, this is a generation that they didn't learn how to use iPads and phones. They grew up with it. They're the first generation that actually grew up with technology. Everything's always been on. We wonder why mental health is such a problem. But of course, it's because they see so much of what's going on around them through their phones and through social media. And this has caused an issue. And I think now there's a very healthy discussion. I'm reading Jonathan Haidt's book on the sort of the anxious generation, and I think there's a very healthy discussion about social media. I think social media is fantastic for raising awareness and making people realize that, they can, join forces. My social media, I am a member of a group that does wild swimming, and I love all their videos that they post. But social media can also make you feel very lonely, like you're not having the best vacation. Everyone's in Greece and I'm just in the south of England. That's so depressing. But actually, it's not. We all know that it's not actually. It's a facade. But when you're 14, it's very important to you.
I'm really glad that you say that because I always say on social media, I have a love-hate relationship with social media, and I always say what you see is not really reality, right?
Yeah,
It's just an image most of the time. So I'm
yeah,
glad that
absolutely.
you
Yeah,
mentioned something about purpose, like that these the new generation are very purpose driven. If you could find, like, we're writing a book at the end of this conference, summarizing a lot of the talks that we have, and that book is going to have a good chunk about purpose. If you could come up, if we had a magic wand and could come up with a formula for purpose, what would it be for you?
well, I think in a company situation, purpose is about inclusiveness, so making people feel like they belong. So when they either turn on their laptop and they have a call, or they go into a physical office, they feel as though they're meant to be there, that they belong, and then that sort of creates purpose. But also, it's what's the purpose of what I'm doing? So the company has to have a purpose, a very clear purpose and a mission and a vision, and that needs to be articulated very clearly in everything that is done in the company. But also career development. Nobody wants to stay in the same job from day one. They want to progress. And what I get a lot of questions about is, how can I develop my career? And I think that a little bit of it is about your manager, a little bit is about yourself, but quite a lot of it is about the work that you do. So it's making sure that people have the right work that fits their skills and fits their aspirations, and that creates internal purpose, and that hopefully then feeds into the company purpose.
Yeah, and I think that it's really, really important to balance both, right? Like, you've got your individual purpose and you've got your company purpose, and both of these have shared purposes, right? So the
Yeah.
connection between the two is really, really important. Cool. So we've been also playing a game with a lot of the speakers. Would you rather game? Would you be willing to play that game before I turn it over to the audience in case they have a question?
Always happy to play a game.
We need to reflect a bit of fun and hope. All right. Are you ready to play?
I'll play.
Would you rather purpose or profit
Oh, purpose.
at any cost?
Yeah.
Amazing. Authenticity or attachment?
Authenticity.
Meditation or movement?
Movement.
An extra hour to sleep or an extra hour to do something you love?
Well, I do love sleep, but I would like to have an extra hour to do something that I love, which is walking.
Would you love to set a Guinness World Record or stay low profile?
No, I'd love to set a record. I just need to find what that record will be. And also, we're not allowed to break records. I'd have to leave the company to break a record. So I'll do that in my retirement.
Maybe you could do one in partnership with me. I love that. And if you could, what's your favorite quote that you live by?
Do no harm.
Do no harm. I love that. And if you could go back to your 8-year-old self, what would you say to that? What would you say to her?
Uh, don't listen to that person who told you that you couldn't do what you wanted to do, and just do what you want to do. I think it's really important to inspire our kids to just do exactly that they want to do. And I think we need to stop living vicariously through our kids, you know, sending them to the school that we wanted to go to ourselves, to the university, and just let them be who they want to be.
I love that. And you're getting a lot of hearts. I hope you're seeing.
I am actually, yeah.
That's beautiful. If you could learn any new skill, what would it be?
Any new skill? Well, I would really, I do ski, but I would really like to learn to snowboard. I think I might be a little bit ancient to do that, but I'd love to snowboard because I love the snow and the mountains. And I think that that is very good for your mental health as well.
Beautiful. And we have someone in a bit speaking about AI and mental health. I believe she's with us on the audience already. So if you could pick one task that AI could take over from you, what would it be?
Well, I've already picked it, and that is writing job descriptions because it's the most laborious task ever. And I have discovered that AI can write job descriptions and do a better job. So I am so happy, so happy. I think that anything that is admin related, honestly, so that allows us to be creative and to come up with ideas, because I think that we've bogged ourselves down so much with admin and emails and phone calls, and we've lost our spirit of creativity and enthusiasm. And I'm hoping that AI will help us to do that.
I love that. Well, Stephanie, it's been incredible speaking to you. That brings us to the end of this segment, and I do know that there are people that have questions for you because I see two in the chat. So I'm gonna call on Nadine to come and channel this segment before we go to the next speaker. Thank you so much, Stephanie. It was lovely seeing you again,
My pleasure. It was lovely to see you
and
too.
I
Thank
look
you very
forward to
much.
setting a world record with you, together or separately. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Lubna, and thank you, Stephanie, for that. There was actually a question about Gen Z and how to manage that relationship, and thank you so much for actually answering that live. Another question we have is, what if the person is a high achiever and in a high position, but still does not feel heard or feels a lack of self-worth? How would you be able to address that?
I think I would probably, so to be honest with you, I think I'd probably ask if they would like to be coached. So I do coach. I am a qualified coach, and I do coach people in the company. And I would ask that question, would you like to be coached? But I think, again, it's about making sure that they have an hour that is all to themselves without interruption, and that they can feel heard, and they can also talk through some problems. Interestingly, a lot of people find, which I find interesting actually, is that high achievers are considered harder work to manage because they're always asking for more. But I think that that's good, because you want to have somebody always, sort of pushing the envelope in a way. But often they find it difficult to express themselves. So yes, I would say coaching.
Okay. Well, maybe I think we can take one more question. Going back to what you previously said about it's okay, unless you're curing cancer, it's okay to miss a deadline. The question is, has that ever resulted in maybe an employee stretching that empathy too much and not being as productive as needed?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's you can miss a deadline every now and again, but if you're constantly missing deadlines, then it's a performance issue, isn't it? So you've got to weigh up all the whole scenario. I always like to find out the whole story. So if somebody is not doing that well, they're missing deadlines or they're performing not well, I want to know what's happening in their life, what's happening with the relationship with the manager, because you can't constantly miss a deadline, because then you're letting other people down, and also you're creating stress with your teammates. So you do need to address it. I think once in a while it's going to happen. Something has happened in your life and you just can't make it. But all the time, there's got to be some questions.
Perfect. Great. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for your time and for being with us here today. I'll take it over to Lubna so that we can move to the next segment.
Thank you very much, Nadine. Okay.
Thank you, Stephanie. It was lovely having you, and I hope you have a really nice evening. I know you're in the UK, so enjoy it.
Thank you
so
very much. Thank you very much for having me.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.